I heard him say okay. All right, so it's 5:30 on April 23rd, 2025. Welcome to the Municipal Building Commission meeting. We are not going to approve the minutes, but they are in the packages that were just handed out to you, so you can read them, and in 2 weeks we will vote on them. So they'll be tabled for now. Second thing you should know is that the bids for this PFAS project have been pushed back to May 1st, so you do not have to go to a meeting next week here, because there will be none, and we will make the recommendation to the mayor based on the bids at our May 7th meeting, which will be our next meeting. So I'm going to cross that off, and I'm going to write 5-7 here. So the business of this evening is for us to interview 4 applicants to be the owner's project manager for the permanent PFAS project. And the first one up is Skanska, and you will have about 20 minutes to tell us why we should choose you number 1, and we'll reserve 10 minutes or so for questions, and then we have somebody else scheduled in at 6 o'clock. So, please introduce yourself. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. My name is Keith Martin. I'm Vice President of Operations for Skanska in the consulting group. I've been with the company about 12 years. I've been in the industry for about 40 years. Most of that's in industrial plants. I've done water and wastewater treatment plants, the most recent of which was a drinking water plant in Colorado Springs, which is a brand new out of the ground plant. And that was 5 or 8 years ago. So anyway, thank you for inviting us today. And on the next slide, the rest of the team will introduce themselves as they get up to speak. So it'll just be one person here at the lectern at a time. So appreciate you inviting us today. We hope to demonstrate our team's overall strength and expertise in water treatment plant design and construction. We have a lot of material delivered to you today and hope to get through it in 20 minutes or less. So you know Skanska well, obviously, from the 15 years or so that we've been here in Attleboro providing OPM services, and I think you've come to trust and appreciate our services. We watched the video of the shortlisting meeting you had a couple weeks ago, when you heard some kind words about Skanska that you've experienced over the years. So tonight we're going to focus more on our team's water treatment plant design experience, because we also heard that was kind of lacking in our proposal. So we want to demonstrate that to you today. So Weston & Sampson there had originally looked at this RFQ when it came out and determined not to pursue it, primarily for staffing resources for the whole scope. They had the technical piece, but they didn't have the horsepower at that time to do the OPM piece of it. So we talked with them and said, look, let's get together. You guys do the technical pieces, that's what you're good at. We know Attleboro, they know us. We'll provide the OPM services, the reporting and recording and advising and all that stuff. And we thought we'd make a pretty strong team to deliver the project. So
is this a joint venture for this project only?
It's not a joint venture, it's just a team. So we haven't formalized a joint venture. So I guess you would call it an informal arrangement, where Weston & Sampson will provide their technical review of the documents and advice, and we'll do all the things that the OPM typically does, the reporting and overall management and advising the town, the city, of things coming up. We thought that with Weston Sampson's 100+ years experience of water treatment plant design and construction experience, in concert with our experience as owners, project managers on municipal projects throughout the Commonwealth, that we made a pretty strong team. You know what you're getting with this team, having had some experience with Skanska over the last 15 years. Dale and Mary Ann, they're kind of waiting in the wings. They are a support group to us throughout our projects across the Commonwealth. You get to know us a little bit better over the next 25 minutes or so as we work through this presentation. we hope to convince you that we will be the kind of the best team for Attleboro, that we have the experience, the expertise, and the familiarity with what the city needs to put these projects in place. I did my introduction, so Leah.
Great. Hi, I'm Leah Stanton, discipline leader for the water practice at Weston and Sampson. I have over 25 years of experience, all in municipal drinking water, working on lots of different types of projects, varying for all the way from source water development all the way to tap. So I've done pretty much everything in the drinking water, municipal drinking water area. The last 10 to 15 years I have focused on treatment plants. That's been my area of expertise. And I have worked certainly on the design side of things, and oftentimes we'll see these projects that we design go into construction, and we'll carry them through to construction, resident inspection. And then also I have served as the OPM, Owner's Project Manager, for many projects that are currently ongoing. One of the things that we see when we do these projects, these are massive projects, these plants, there's a lot going on and there's a lot of different moving pieces. And one of the things that we observe on these plant-type drinking water plant projects is that they're about 20 to 25% of them, about a quarter of the project is process related. That's the water quality, the water treatment. The rest of the project, and that's the piece that Weston and Sampson is supporting Skanska on. The rest of the project is building systems, architectural, structural, civil site, and that also makes up such a really large part of these big projects. And Ben Rollins is also on the Weston and Sampson team. Is going to introduce himself.
Hi everybody, my name is Ben Rollins. I'm a project manager at Weston and Sampson, and I've been with the company and in the industry for 10 plus years at this point. Most of my experience has been in water quality and treatment. I manage several large water treatment plant projects like the one similar to this project here. As part of that, I manage a team of engineers at Weston and Sampson. We are a multidisciplinary firm, and with that comes a team of engineers for different disciplines. So I manage a team of architectural, structural, electrical, and process engineers to get these projects done. I also work hand in hand with public water suppliers to make sure they get what they need and what they want. I work closely with regulators as well, specifically the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection. Through their SRF program, Lee is going to touch on a few SRF projects that we've completed recently and are ongoing, and also with the Southeast Regional Office, which Attleboro is under. With your neighboring communities, I work a lot with Mansfield and Norton. I'll touch more on that later. So most importantly, though, what I like to do is I like to work hand in hand with operators as well. They are the last stop that make sure that the water chemistry, water quality is good on the way out to the distribution system and to the consumer's taps. Thanks.
And sadly, Jessica can't be with us today. She learned Sunday morning that her father passed away, so she had to go to Mexico this week for the funeral. But she will be back next week and will be part of the team. We had included in our proposal the division of responsibility to kind of help you understand how we divided up the scope of work that was in the RFS, it's certainly negotiable if we come on board. We can work through and figure out who's going to do what. But we thought with Weston Sampson's technical expertise, they would handle all kind of the technical and the process stuff, and we would handle the more typical OPM type stuff. Talked a bit about our local experience. We've been here. We know the city. We think we understand your expectations of an owner's project management firm, and we hope to be able to deliver once again. So these are Jessica's slides. I'll just pass through them. Communications reporting, obviously, the most important part of any project, making sure that we're informing you of all the things that you need to be informed of. We're teeing up decisions so you, the city, can make the decisions as you need to, that we're working with the contractors and the clerk of the works, getting the information from them, working closely with them, understanding if they're facing any obstacles, if they have any equipment or material delays, or if there's obstacles, or if there are decisions they need made to keep their work going. Those are all things that will kind of be the conduit between them and you, the city. Budget and schedule control, we will develop a master budget and a master schedule, which would include not only the contractor's costs, but all of the city's costs as well, the FF&E, any special equipment, the sub-consultants, testing agency costs, all those things. And then the schedule would include, obviously, the contractor schedule, but then the startup and commissioning of the plant, move-in of the plant, all those kind of activities that the contractor won't have in his schedule, but are all part of getting to a final completion of the project. And again, change management, one of Jessica's specialties is reviewing change order requests from a contractor, first validating that they're legitimate, and once she determines they're legitimate, then we go through and we validate the cost, we validate the quantities, we use our estimating teams to do that, and then if everything checks out, then we would recommend to you that this change should be approved for the contractor. And I'll turn it back over to Leah.
So this list here is just a few of our construction projects, plant projects, design projects. We currently are working on design of about 6 plants, half a dozen plants. Similarly, about a half a dozen of those plants are in construction, and that has been a pattern that we have seen over the last 2 to 3 years. As the plants move through the different processes, we're kind of backfilling. So the majority of these projects are SRF funded, and some of these are on the OPM side, some of these are on the design side, in construction. Weston and Sampson's role is, I should say, we have some smattering of groundwater, and we have also some surface water plants. Weston and Sampson has been doing this work since 1899. We were sanitary engineers way back, and where we just turned 125 years, and we're pretty proud of it. You will not find firms that have been doing it that long around here very often. So here are a few of our groundwater treatment plants. Plant on the left, these have been constructed and have been in service for a bit of time now. Chatham was iron and manganese green sand plant. Tie and Bond was the OPM for that project. A lot of times you'll see us all changing different hats and wearing different hats in different phases of these projects. The plant on the right is from Norton, Mass., another iron and manganese green sand plant. There was no OPM on the Norton, Mass. project. 10 years ago, when we weren't doing PFAS treatment, a lot of our drinking water plants were below the $10 million threshold, so it didn't require an owner's project management. And right now what we're seeing is since now that we've added PFAS treatment to these plants, the plants are almost all over $10 million. So they're all requiring an owner's project manager. Keith? This is an example of a project we just completed up in the North Shore, Massachusetts. This was an award-winning project for us, and it was a really successful project. It was an upgrade to a 50-year-old surface water treatment plant. We went through all of the analysis to determine whether it would be better to upgrade or replace, and we chose the upgrade choice. We made the choice to upgrade the plant. We ended up saving the city, it was close to $15 million, $20 million over a new plant, and it's a super successful project. Weston and Sampson self-performed the design for all of these plants, right? So we, as Ben mentioned, we can do the architectural, we do the structural, we do the process and all the water treatment plant work, obviously. We have MEP staff, engineers on staff, and we think that will really help on this project, and it is a differentiator for Weston and Sampson and our team, because it will allow us to, as problems come up, and there will be problems associated with those types of things, we'll be able to reach into our technical staff and our bench, get support, deal with that problem, and then get right back into the work of getting the project completed. And I think that's it for me. Yep.
So we also heard you guys in the last commissioner's video that you're looking for PFAS experience specifically. Over the last 10 years, we have over 35 PFAS projects, and we've been successful with almost all of them. Some of these have been on an emergency basis based on the October 2020 Massachusetts PFAS 6 MCL. So here we have two examples. The one on the left here is the Linfield Center Water District. To respond to the relatively new at the time Massachusetts MCL of 20, this is a design build project on the left-hand side. So we designed and we installed a pilot granular activated carbon and ion exchange resin vessels to quickly treat for PFAS. We were also the OPM for that construction project. And on the right-hand side over here, this rightmost picture, you're probably wondering what that is, but that's actually the inside of a Green Sand Plus pressure filter vessel. So what we did in an emergency scenario for the Abington and Rockland Joint Waterworks at their Myers Ave water treatment plant was we retrofitted one of their 4 Green Sand Plus filters from Green Sand Plus media to granular activated carbon for an emergency PFAS treatment situation. Currently, so that was during the 1-year demonstration study of that project, we successfully proved that we could treat PFAS with the granular activated carbon that was tested, and we are currently under construction at the Myers Avenue water treatment plant for a new PFAS treatment building with 2 GAC vessels. Also for the Abington and Rockland Joint Waterworks, we're at their Hannigan surface water treatment as well. So we can see a Revit rendering here in which we're showing that we're treating PFAS going through those 3 larger GAC vessels into 3 pairs of lead lag ion exchange resin vessels. And I'll note for Abington and Rockland, surface water, very complicated projects here, similar to what the Wading River water treatment plant looks like. But I'll note that this is a SRF funded project. Both of these projects under the same contract, in the tune of $14.6 million. So large project PFAS treatment experience. Go ahead, Keith. We also understand the importance of construction sequencing and proper planning. So these 2 pictures here are from construction of the Pease water treatment plant up in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. On the right-hand side is a nice, beautiful building. That's the final product there. But throughout construction, during the middle construction phases, there was only 2 walls that stood during construction that held the electrical conduits, the water main up, and all things required to keep the water on, really, to provide safe and drinkable water to the folks in the city of Portsmouth. On the left-hand side over here, you'll see similar vessels to the rendering in the last slide. So we have the larger GAC vessels on the left-hand side, and actually before that, upstream of that is smaller ion exchange resin vessels. That was because up in Pease, up in Portsmouth, the PFAS concentration was actually up in the 3,000 parts per trillion, so we needed to get rid of the PFAS up front. So one of the most important parts of construction is the end, where you get to the plant startup and really handing the keys over to the operators. So we have years of experience with plant startups and working with operators. No 2 startups are the same, really, unfortunately for us. But we have that experience, and it plays off. Plant startups require working and coordinating with all parties involved, including folks in town, in the city as well, the construction contractor, their subs, the engineer, of course, the OPM, regulatory bodies, town bodies, building permits and inspectors as well. So there's a lot of coordination that needs to be done to get the final green light. And before we get the green light, there's a lot of steps that we need to take, including the few that I've included on this slide here today. So we have plenty of experience. I know we're kind of running a little short on time, but I did want to highlight the operator transition. So that's a vital step in making sure the operator has the tools and the information necessary to take what the contractor has given them and properly operate their water treatment plant and maintain it. Other services Weston and Sampson provides. So Leah and I live on this green slice of the pie over here in the engineers company. We also have two other companies underneath the Weston and Sampson umbrella, the CMR and services companies. CMR is on the left-hand side over there, construction, maintenance, and repair. So they construct the water treatment plants and pump stations that we help design. And services, they operate and maintain these facilities as well. So it's a full wheel. We help design, permit, and then we can also construct and operate and maintain these facilities too. I've been humbled a couple times in my designs when I was a junior engineer. I tossed them to the CMR crew and the services crew to say, how does this design look? And they said that we can't construct this. So it's always good to have these folks to bounce ideas off of. And I get calls from operators in water treatment plants quite often these days. And when I don't know an answer, and sometimes I don't, I like to ask our services group for some advice, and they'll be able to help out.
So as Ben touched on potential challenges, obviously in the startup phase of the project, and transition to operations, and also supply chain challenges. We have a national supply chain group, so we can assist the contractor if he's having trouble getting equipment or materials delivered. We have some national presence with, say, pump vendors and tank vendors to help them out if necessary. Happy to do that. And then why Skanska and the Weston Sampson team? As Leah said, the water industry is very busy right now. Resources are tapped, and that's a lot of the reason we joined together with Weston Sampson, because we obviously perform the OPM services, they perform the technical services. We each have time to do that. It's rare to find a team these days that has enough expertise in-house to do everything. Secondly, we're very proud of the awards that we've received, both Weston Sampson and us. Those tell me that our companies are places that people like to work, and clients like to have on their teams. We're very proud of our relationship with the City of Attleboro. We hope to continue that. We'd like to, at least be working with you for the next few years, and we would welcome the opportunity to do that. So thanks for the time, and happy to take any questions.
I do have one question. Perhaps directed to the Weston and Sampson team. You mentioned 6 projects under construction, 6 under design, I think. Are we going to get the 2 of you, or are we going to get someone else? And do you have the capacity and bandwidth given the workload that you have?
Yeah, so...
And that's more than one question, I understand.
Yeah. So the 6 projects under design and the 6 projects under construction are clearly being done by more than just Ben and I. But Ben and I are part of the team for you all, and Ben is the lead. So, so I guess you will get Ben and I, plus, in addition to others.
And you've got the time and the bandwidth given the workload that you have?
Yes, for sure. So, and that is where Skanska comes in. There's no question about that. There's a lot of doing these types of projects don't require a process expert all the time. So that's the team that we have put together. It requires somebody who can handle construction, can handle contractors, knows civil and site work well, and then we supplement that team with our technical expertise when it's needed.
Okay. Commission members? Mason?
Yeah, sure. I do have a question about SRF funding. So the city has pretty limited experience in working with SRF funding. Can you just describe, some of the biggest challenges you've seen with SRF in the past, especially in recent years with all the PFAS funding, and just some of your experience, and talk about how you get through those challenges, how you'll be able to help the city?
We're bidding right now a plant in Middleborough, which is iron and manganese and granular activated carbon for PFAS, and it is the first BABA plant in the state, Buy America, Build America, in the state. So there will be complications and issues associated with getting waivers and all of those types of things. I think that is that's what we see kind of causing the most challenges right now. A lot of SRF, we've done over and over again, and it goes pretty smoothly, depending on who your rep is from from DEP. But certainly some of the Buy America stuff has been challenging. A lot of it sometimes you don't even know, right?
Just as a follow-up, I noticed in your submittal, there was one blank on the division of responsibility. You guys didn't note who would be covering the overseeing of the contractor's compliance with the MBE, WE requirements, as well as prevailing wages. Was that just an omission, just an oversight, or is that one you guys just aren't sure at this point?
Yeah, it's an oversight. Weston and Sampson will help with the MBE, WE.
Because that goes along with SRF.
It does.
Just a quick add to that answer as well. So, change orders are a part of construction, especially with a project that's this large. So just the document collection and the document review, change order review through the SRF program has been a little challenging for us and a little slow moving than what we would hoped. So I'll add on to Leah's answer with that.
When you say change order process, is that funds coming in over, projects coming in over budget and needing to go back for additional funding, or is it actually just the change process even within budget?
A little bit of both. Yeah, it could be whatever change that's agreed upon by all the parties involved.
Matt, did you have any questions?
No, I think a lot was covered.
Okay. Anybody else? Ed?
Yeah, I got a couple of questions. You may have covered them in your opening, but how long has Skanska and Weston been a team?
We're working currently with Weston Sampson in the town of Middleborough for Middleborough Gas and Electric. Whereas Weston Sampson's the designer, we're the owner's project manager. There have been other projects. Lee, you had mentioned some where we've worked together in the past. But we team for a specific project, and then we go, do our projects separately.
I'd say 5 years.
5 years.
Various different types of projects.
In the operation, I'm thinking of hazardous things. What kind of pressures are encountered in this process? Pressures in the vessels?
So these are, it depends on your distribution system, but it's, let's call it 180 PSI, 80 to 100 PSI, high pressure.
Are there any hazardous materials involved?
With building it or with running it?
Running it day to day?
So all of the chemicals that are used in, not all of them, many of the chemicals that are used in treatment are highly, they're classified as dangerous chemicals. So does that answer that question?
And you have built-in protection and procedures to deal with leakage or whatever might happen to those?
Yes, that's all part of the design and the Mass DEP guidelines and policies for drinking water standards, and that's all part of designing and building a treatment plant, for sure.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
I have one. As far as plants that you've done in the past that have done the PFAS system, has there been any one common problem that you find has come up with all of the different projects, or is it all different ones?
If I had to pick one, we've been doing this for the past 10 years and including some design builds. So there has been some, I guess, unexpected clogging of the media that we've kind of learned to play around and make sure the media stays happy during construction and through startup. I would say that's one of the most common ones that I've seen.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, well, thank you for making the presentation. About an hour and a half from now, we're going to deliberate. Excuse me. If you call Mason tomorrow, you can find out whether you finished 1, 2, 3, or 4.
Okay.
And
I like the first number.
Yeah, so, but we do appreciate the time and the effort you put into this.
All right, and I hope that we kind of clarified the water treatment side of our team. We heard that that wasn't as apparent in our proposal. So if we've done that, that's a success. I do have copies of this presentation I can leave with you, if you'd like to. Thank you all very much.
Give them to Mason, he can hand them out.
Will do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Here's the next one. Thank you.
I assume Mason went to find the next candidate. Yes. A minute or so, if you say. Thank you, Jerry.
There's one for you.
What's that?
There was one in there for you.
Yeah.
Did everybody get one? Thank you.
Oh, share the screen. Yeah.
Okay, are we ready to?
Calling in on Zoom.
We'll let Jim set
Oh,
things
yeah.
up.
Thank you. Oh, and a pen. Love pens.
Thank you.
Wait when it's over. Pretty color. That's a pretty color. Very pretty.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, I didn't either.
Yeah, when she connects in,
I was on the fence about it. 'Cause I said, Jim. What's her name?
I saw a name pop up. I see a face.
Paige? I sent her my. I said, it's four.
Okay, so you can all hear me?
Yes.
Let me share.
Tara's in Florida. Thank you for accommodating her. It's school vacation week.
Well, I remember those days. You got to pay twice as much money as you would any other week.
Exactly.
So,
Okay, one sec.
while she's doing that, let me just say, I assume you're right, Pierce?
We are.
And we're going to give you about 20 minutes to explain why we should choose you instead of the other candidates. We'll reserve about 10 minutes for questions. We're starting a few minutes late, but that's okay. And so whenever you're ready to go, have at it.
Looks like we are ready. All right, you all right, Tara?
Yes.
Yep, I just have to put it in presentation mode.
Down the bottom.
Oh, yeah, this one.
Yeah. There you go. You can flip along as we're talking. All right. we'll get going right away. So yes, we are right here. Thank you for having us.
ask you to stand in front of the
Okay.
Yeah, this is being televised to tens of people in Attleboro.
Oh, okay.
All 10 of them,
Yeah.
or whatever.
So everyone appreciates if you use the microphone, and Jim runs the camera and everything else. So as I said, why you?
Yes, okay, well, thank you. We are Wright Pierce. Introduce our team real quickly. I'm Rob Williamson. I lead most of our water group organization. I have Jim Cray with us here. He's our regional group leader for Massachusetts. Megan Condon, she's one of our project engineers that's going to be working on this, and Tara Horhan, who's online, who's the project manager for the project. I'm just going to make a couple introductory little statements, just tell you a little bit about our firm since we haven't done work with you before. I just want to make sure that. But again, you said what makes us stand out. You're going to hear everyone is wonderful and great and we're the best. And of course, we're going to say the same thing, but we're hopeful we are going to be able to demonstrate that by our experience and what we bring to the table, what's important to you. We are primarily a municipal engineering firm. That's all we do is water and wastewater engineering. Treatment is our specialty, so we bring a lot of exposure, a lot of experience that to the table. Tara, if you want to just flip through. I'm just going to kind of set the table, talk about us, and then turn it over to the team who are going to be the people that you work with primarily. You can keep on going again and again. I introduced our team here. We included an org chart. All I want to point out here is we have all the disciplines available to us that you will need on this project. And actually, a few slides ahead, I want to point that out. That's one of the differentiators of our company. There may be others that do it, but we have all the technical disciplines in-house, every single one of them, from civil, structural, architectural, engineering, instrumentation, controls, mechanical, HVAC, everything. It's all under our purview, all under our control. Why is that important to you? Because we have direct control that allows us to control schedule, scope, and budget. They're all right there at our fingertips. We can get answers and direction out of our staff immediately. We don't have to use subcontractors. It's a unique position. There's not a lot of firms that do that anymore. It's just the way we chose to continue to run our business, and it just gives us much better control over our product, and hopefully gives our clients a much better product in the end. Flip along, Tara. Again, I want to just touch on who we are. We're really a New England-based firm. You can see by the black dots, we have you all covered. We did start a practice in Florida and South Carolina recently, but we originate in New England. And this project would be run out of our Marlboro. We have staff in Burlington office, perhaps some in Providence. Megan happens to live in Middleborough. She's going to be the one you're going to interface with the most. She's, a half an hour away, so we're very close and nearby. Flip again, Tara. I think this just talked really to our building services staff and everyone that we have on board. So, we have things that may be important to you as the project's moving on. Because we do treatment and that's all we do, our staff can look at things, make assessments on the fly. We've done, we can do code reviews if need be as the project's going on for change orders and things like that are proposed. That's always an issue that comes up. So having those people, I think you'll find is a tremendous benefit to have them ready at hand. And one more, Tara. This is really just telling you folks who we are. We are a municipal engineering firm, drinking water, wastewater, and then we mentioned stormwater. We do that as well, and the civil service, civil practices. But that's who we are. That's where we deal, mostly in New England, with folks in communities of all sizes, and you're right up our alley for what we do. So with that, I want to turn it over to our team, let them talk to you about actual real-world experience, what we bring to the table, and how we can help your project be successful as ever. Appreciate it.
So I will start, and while there are numerous keys to success to any project, the ones that Wright Pierce would like to highlight today for this project particularly is that we fully understand the design and construction aspects of water treatment plants. We've designed and overseen construction of more than 30 iron and manganese facilities, including 3 that also treat for PFAS. Within the past 5 years alone, we've commissioned PFAS facility, a couple iron and manganese facilities, including PFAS, and another standalone iron and manganese removal facility. I myself have experience with over 10 projects, in the course of my career, dealing with upgrades, design, and construction in water treatment plants specifically. And then currently, we have additional water PFAS projects in either the piloting, design, or construction stages. And 3 of the pilots we're currently working on include the Fluorosorb, which is the media that you will be using for the Wading River water treatment plant. In addition to these projects, I want to highlight that we do have surface water experience as well. It includes design and construction upgrades in Haverhill and Bellingham. We've also acted as the OPM for treatment projects in Peabody and Leominster as well. And then certainly we have experience working with other municipal building commissions, with DEP, and we've worked on projects where we're the designer, and we've worked with OPMs overseeing our work. And then, of course, we like to highlight the fact that we have worked on many projects that are funded by SRF, and we understand the required paperwork, including maintaining compliance with MBE, WBE requirements, prevailing wage submissions, etc. The second key is communication. Communication is certainly critical to the success of any project, particularly this one, where there are numerous parties involved. We have the design engineer, the contractor, the town, the municipal building commission. We also understand that the public may have more interest in this project given the water challenges that the city has faced this past year. And then, as Rob highlighted, we have in-house design services. He covered all the disciplines that we have in-house, which covers the gamut. And then, since our primary focus is the design of and construction oversight of water and water works facilities, these disciplines are very familiar with Mass DEP guidelines and regs. Mass State building codes, ADA requirements, applicable construction related issues. So that's really important. And then Megan's going to go into more of this in a little more detail.
So I'm going to start out by telling you guys a little bit about myself. I actually worked for a municipality for the last 18 years, and I worked with Wright Pierce on some major water treatment plant upgrades and various water design work and construction projects. And I liked them so much, I wanted to work for them. I know that to have a project of this magnitude be able to be successful, there's a lot of communication and coordination that needs to happen. And we're going to need to work together and be partners with Tata and Howard. So what we will do is be the eyes and ears on the ground for the city of Attleboro. I understand, coming from a municipality, how important it is to have that line of communication not only with the water department, but also the mayor, the municipal building committee, the public. The public probably has a very big interest, in the water, all the various water upgrades that are being made, and that needs to be communicated throughout the project. By attending meetings and being on site, we will be there for every aspect of the construction portion of this project. And we understand that the city has a lot of water projects going on, or in the last few years, you've made upgrades to the West Street water treatment plant. You have the ozone there now. You have the interconnection with the city of Pawtucket. And now this is another major project that you're undertaking. And you need somebody to be able to be your advocate and look out for, hurdles that might come along. What we found are the major things that will back a project like this up are scheduling and also cost increases. Now, I'm dealing with a project right now where we're working together with another engineering firm, and this project has already gone out to bid, and the contractor's already coming back and saying, well, the price of this is going up, the time delays on this, we have to get ahead of that. So we'll have to work together with the engineer to be able to foresee these issues and say, okay, we know that these materials have a longer lead time. We need to push these things along so that everything is approved. We know that SRF funding comes into it, so we need to make sure that they're meeting all of those requirements, but also get them ordered so that we are staying on task, we are staying within budget, and we are staying within the timeline that the city needs to stay within. We also understand that there's a lot of people, not only the general contractor, but as many as 14 subcontractors that are all going to need to be overlooked. And for them, this is, just another job that they have. This isn't their top priority. For us, this will be the top priority, and we will make sure that, they keep remembering that for the city, you need to meet these targets, meet these deadlines, and meet this schedule. So I just hope that, you understand that we, like Rob mentioned, I'm right down the street. I plan to, if you choose us, be around and be in constant communication with the city. Tara, if you could go to the next slide. So I'm not going to go through everything here. This is, all of the steps that we'll need to take to make the project successful. Partner with, the engineer, partner with the city. We're going to, come to project meetings and do all these other things that are listed. But what we'll really try to do is work with the engineer to make sure nothing falls through the cracks. I mean, that's going to be one of the big things. There's a lot of moving parts, and it's easy for things to, sometimes slide by. It's always nice as an OPM to be the other set of eyes to make sure that nothing falls through the cracks. So our responsibility is really to make sure that everything gets done in a timely manner, and at the end of the project, not just walk away, because that's the easiest thing to do. Everyone thinks the project's over, we're done. But we will make sure that it's closed out to everyone's satisfaction and that all entities are happy with the end result.
I'll discuss the project. I am starting to get a little nervous about time. So just briefly, just so you know that we understand what the project is, you have the Wading River treatment plant. It's an existing treatment plant. It provides, approximately 25% of the water supply for the city. The new plant will have, certain steps. Again, the highlights. Well, for this project, the primary concerns are the TOC removal, manganese removal, and the PFAS removal. So your treatment systems all cover all that. You start with a pre-oxidation phase, and then you'll have the MIAX, the TOC removal, followed by the Green Sand Plus, which it will remove iron and manganese. And in your case, the manganese is more important for removal because you have elevated levels of manganese. Followed by the PFAS contactors, and the media for this, again, will be the Fluorosorb. You also have numerous chemical feed systems, covering coagulation, disinfection, corrosion control, dental hygiene, pH adjustment. And then you have systems, tanks, pumps to handle backwash and recycling of the water, of course, residuals handling and storage, in addition to the typical buildings designs, including HVAC, mechanical, plumbing, fire, all that.
And then I'm just going to give you guys just a little brief overview of some of the relevant water treatment plant experience that we've done over the years at Wright Pierce. So surface water plants, we've done a number of surface water plants. A lot of them have similar TOC reduction is a primary component for treatment that we've done with lagoons. You guys are having lagoons upgrades at this project. Filtration for iron and manganese removal. A lot of similar treatment processes to what the Wading River treatment plant will have. We have a ton of iron and manganese removal. That's kind of the bread and butter for us. I mean, that's really the primary contaminants in the water up here in the Northeast. So a lot of our work has been, groundwater, but we do have some groundwater plants that the groundwater actually acts as, it's more like a surface water, so we have to use similar techniques for treatment of that. So 16 of these right now that we have online are using green sand media. We've dealt with construction, tight construction sequencing windows where we have an existing facility that we need to keep online. There's a lot of balls in the air that we kind of need to make sure that we're hitting. We've had projects where we've done directional drilling under resource areas, similar to what you guys are going to have as part of this project. Lagoon, obviously startups and lagoon maintenance. We've also got a lot of experience there as well. If you want to flip to the next slide. As far as PFAS goes, we've done, obviously it's more of a newer phenomenon with the regulations, but we do have facilities online that use GAC and IX. We don't have anything online full scale that uses Fluorosorb. It's relatively new. We just started piloting that. We've had projects where we've had an existing full-size contact vessels for GAC. So in Devons, we did a project where we actually relocated, they had a PFAS, like a temporary PFAS treatment system that was in a rubber building, and part of the project was taking those contactors and put them in the new permanent treatment plant, similar to what you guys will be doing here. So we know how much there's coordination that needs to happen for construction on that end of it to get things moved, and obviously maintaining treatment at your facility is paramount. You don't want to be without water. And then on the SRF side, we've mentioned it, we've got plenty of experience there. A lot of the PFAS projects that are going through the process now are SRF funded because of the benefits with 0% interest and principal forgiveness. We've dealt with the AIS and then more recently the BABA requirements, so we know what's required from the contractor on that end of it. So basically, we have a lot of relevant experience and recent experience with this, so we think we're pretty well suited. Go to I know we're kind of running short on time, but I'll let Tara speak to a current project that's going into construction now that's very similar to what you guys have here.
Yes, I'll highlight a few things for the Bellingham Hartford Ave Water Treatment Plant project. So Bellingham, similar to the Wading River, is an existing treatment plant that we do need to keep online during construction. So it's critical that we work with the contractor as best we can to minimize any downtime. This is where it's nice that you do have the emergency interconnection in case there are any issues that occur. The other things I'd like to highlight is that although this is a groundwater treatment facility, it really is essentially a surface water treatment plant because we're also using treatment for TOC removal. In this case, it's a system called ActiFlow. In our case, it's the MyX. But yes, we'll be using that for upstream of the green sand filters, and then we'll be filtering the green sand and followed by PFAS absorbers. Although in this case, the difference is that we'll be using GAC instead of Fluorosorb. And similar again, many chemical feed systems, and we also have some lagoon modifications as part of this project.
So I'm going to talk about two other quick projects because they're very applicable to yours. These are two projects that I managed. One was for Haverhill, Mass. This was a 12 million gallon a day facility where we completely replaced every single component of the plant and had to keep the plant going at the same time. Your facility has a lot of the same complexities, maybe not as much, but this in 35 years, this was the most complex project I've ever been involved in. Your project is going to have similar sequencing things, so just want to demonstrate, we've been through this before. We know what you're going to go through, we know where the pitfalls can be, and we can help flush those things out. That was a surface water conventional treatment plant. The second one was in Burlington. This was one of the first PFAS facilities in the state. This one was highly unique because the client, we won the job. Yay, you won the job. We need it done in 4 months, the design, and we need the construction done in a year. We've been under pressure. We know what pressure's like. We did it. We did it. We were able to do it. It's a plant that's up and functioning. It's primarily just to remove PFAS, but you're going to be facing a lot of these same pressures as well. And encourage you, hire someone as your OPM who has been through this, who knows treatment, who knows these processes, and have been through complex type construction projects like this, because it's really going to pay dividends for you in the end. You have a great engineer in Tate and Howard, not taking anything away from them at all, but to have someone behind them as well is going to be really beneficial to you all. What was next, Tara?
I think it was just the OPM stuff. So, yeah, I'll speak just real quickly at this. I mean, this is one of the recent projects that I was on in Peabody. It was a surface water treatment plant. We were the OPM. Weston and Sampson was the designer on that project, and similar, they had it was an existing plant, complete redo of filters, converting, putting the DAF system in, and this was one of the primary water supplies, so there was a lot of milestones and there was a lot of construction sequencing that the contractor needed to hit, and shutdowns needed to happen at certain periods of the year so they could meet their water demand, so they weren't offline during the summertime. So a lot of challenges there, so we understand. Just another example, like we've been on the design side during these complex projects, but we've also been OPM on these complex projects, so we know, from both sides of it what the needs are for the city. And then similar, we did some similar upgrades in Leominster. I'm not going to get into. This was a running short on time, but they were surface water facilities as well, and we were the OPM on those projects. A little different. We were working with Veolia, so a little different relationship, but we were the owner's project manager for those.
Yes, and this slide highlights a couple more projects we were OPM for, and I was heavily involved in these projects. One was a groundwater well and pump station, one was an elevated storage tank, similar services to what we'd be doing here. And then for the elevated storage tank replacement project, we actually really took over and did the majority of all the CA services so we ended up being the main contact for that project. And the only difference here is that we also provided the resident project rep services, so we were heavily involved with the punch list and also the project closeout for those. And then, so in summary, Wright Pierce has plenty of experience with water treatment plants, including OPM work. We have all our design disciplines in-house. They're readily available. We all work really great together. And then, as Megan highlighted, will be managed from the Marlboro, Mass office. I am also in the office with Megan. We can be responsive and down there in a short time if needed. And then with our experience, we have the proven ability to provide efficient and effective solutions, especially for this project. So here's our contact information. And with that, thank you for listening to us, and let us know if you have the questions.
I do have one question. To my knowledge, this is the second largest bond issue in the history of the city, approaching $50 million. If it isn't the second, it's pretty close.
Yeah.
You've described projects here. Have you done things of a magnitude of 30, 40, 50 million?
So Haverhill was a $42 million project, $36 million in construction, and then about $6 million in engineering. And that was 4 or 5 years ago. Burlington was about a $15 to $20 million project. Our project Medway we just finished up was $24 million.
Bellingham's 30.
Bellingham's
Yeah,
30 million.
And then Peabody, when we were OPM, that was about 25 million, so pretty substantial.
So you're familiar with big numbers?
We are.
Yes.
We are.
Okay. Commission members, questions?
Yeah, no question. I asked the other company that was prior to you the same question. This PFAS system is sort of new within the last few years. Have you found there to be a common problem that has popped up in the different ones that you've done over the years?
Nope. I'll let you answer, but I will. Burlington, no problems. What we've discovered is that the medias can be more effective in certain circumstances. The Burlington project, we went into that project absolutely convinced, before we got going, that was going to be a GAC type media. That's the most common type media that's used out there. We started piloting, and lo and behold, it was not proven to be the best because it had TOC and other contaminants in the water. That was a surface water plant. So what we were able to do there, we were able to take that information, we designed it for ion exchange initially, but we designed the system to be compatible to change out all the various medias that we know are on the market, and the system would operate under any circumstances. The removal of PFAS it's a pretty foolproof process, and I don't, Jim, and I know the number you have done. I don't know if you run into any of the things.
I mean, I think the thing that needs to be coordinated well is the startup, because there are challenges with starting up a facility, and there's conditioning involved with with certain medias, and there's little nuances to when you're changing out media and putting media in that need to be accounted for during startup. So we have a lot of experience on that end of it. The actual technical, I mean, it's really just running water through a pressure filter. I mean, there's not too much to it. It's less complicated than green sand, as far as moving parts and you're not backwashing as much, if at all. So from that end of it, it's really not that complicated. It's more timing up it's a big cost when you replace media. So you want to make sure that you're timing that up and you're getting your run times. It's an operational challenge more than anything.
Mason?
Yeah, so just clarifying question. Based on your proposal, my understanding is that Megan and Tara will be the two primary on this project. Can you just speak to your specific experience as an OPM for any of these projects? I know you had the municipal experience, but do you have any specific OPM experience?
So basically my role for when I worked for a municipality was OPM. We had a very large department, and I oversaw all of the consultants, and we in-house did all of the work for all of our construction projects, so oversaw the budgets, oversaw the schedules, double-checked the submittals. That was primarily my job for the town. And right now I am working on a job I'm doing construction administration services up in Farmington, New Hampshire. So it's a little bit more than OPM work, but it's similar. It's just that a lot more of the work falls on us as opposed to just kind of double checking. But it's a lot of the same scheduling, working with the public, the town, and all of that. So yeah, like I said, it wasn't called an OPM what I did, but it was essentially the same thing.
Did you have experience with SRF funded projects then?
Yes. Yep, and the project I just mentioned, we're working with our SRF funding. And I also, when I was with the municipality I was with, we not only worked with SRF funding, but all different kinds of grants. So I'm well aware of, the timelines, the regulations, and all of that are necessary.
And would you or Tara be the first primary point of contact for day-to-day operations?
Yes.
Just
Which one, me or Tara?
Which one would be?
Yes.
We probably discussed that at the beginning. It depends on what the assignments are. They're going to kind of work in tandem. They're going to be a tag team working together. But that would be one of the first things we want to do is sit down and work out a chain of command. What would you like to see? All of us are going to be available to you. And I should point that out. The team you see here is the team you're going to get. Unless you walk out and it's like that old guy who was talking, we don't like his hair or whatever. But these are the people you get. I got 35 years experience. Jim, Tara, and Megan, they all 20 plus experience. So you're going to be talking to senior people all the time.
Thank you.
Did you want to hear from Tara, or was that?
No, Tara had spoke to,
yeah. Okay.
Matt, did you have any questions?
Yeah. One, what was the production of the Burlington plant?
That was 4 MGD.
And the other one was,
April was 12,
okay.
Both larger than ours.
much larger, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And the other one,
Bellingham?
how many projects in design right now, and how many being built that you're involved in right now currently?
Our team?
Yeah.
Yeah, so me and Tara, we have one, we're working on the Bellingham project that's going into construction. I'm finishing one up that's in construction in Acton. But other than that, once that falls off, which will be in the fall, it'll be basically Bellingham and that's pretty much it.
But I think we have 3 under, they're piloting. We're piloting
Oh, yeah.
again in Medway for PFAS. We're piloting in Grafton, Mass for PFAS and iron and manganese. We have some in Maine we have 2 or 3 in Maine that we're piloting. So just the timing, we got through a bunch of designs, and now with the new regulations that fell last year that dropped the standard to 4, the people that were kind of like waiting, we're getting now into the designs of a lot of them right now before we get started in construction again.
Yeah, I forgot about the piloting stuff. So,
Yeah, we've got a number of pilots going on.
This is good timing for this one.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, that's a good point. We're,
Capacity-wise.
we know you guys are starting right away. You're bidding in a week or 2 here. We're ready to go.
Yeah.
Megan, Tara, all of us, we have the capacity to jump right in, right away. Consultants are busy these days, and we happen to have this, this opportunity where it fits in really well.
And we wouldn't be here if we didn't.
Yeah.
We're not gonna, hey, yeah, we'll do it, and then all of a sudden we're nowhere to be found. We promise all this stuff during the interview, and oh yeah, sorry, we're too busy. That's not how we wouldn't, it's not how we operate. So.
Ed, looked like you had a question?
Yeah, in what way do you see this project becoming integrated with the existing Attleboro treatment system? How does it work? How does it integrate?
As far as the existing plant that this is replacing,
Pardon?
the existing.
The overall present Attleboro water treatment system that serves the whole city, what part does this play in that whole picture?
I mean, I think this facility is one of 2 that you guys have, right? And so this is going to be a big contributor to it's going to improve your overall system quality once it's online. Is that
Reducing the chemicals, the PFAS here, does it affect the entire system?
Yeah, I mean, you're sending in PFAS-free water from this, so this is going to blend with your existing distribution.
So this is more or less going to dilute the
Yes.
those chemicals.
Yes. Yeah. And it's important from what we understand, it's going to be one of your biggest producers of the water for the community. So it's going to be very important. It's going to be integral to the entire system.
Any other questions? Well, thank you. We appreciate even someone taking time from their vacation.
Absolutely. She insisted she was going to be part of this, one way or the other.
So after we do 2 more interviews, we're going to deliberate, and we'll be making a recommendation to the mayor. So if you call Mason tomorrow, you can find out which position you finished in.
Okay, great. Going to make a decision that quick.
We need to make a recommendation to the
Right
mayor,
around the corner.
Yeah, we noticed.
because the bids were supposed to be in
Next week.
May, and now they've been pushed back to May 1st, but.
Yeah, GC bids are due the 1st. What happens is the MBC makes a recommendation, and then the administration goes, reviews, discusses with references, and does some background work, and then obviously kind of then works to move into the contracting phase.
Yes, okay, great. Well, we appreciate you entertaining us. We're looking forward to hopefully working with you, and appreciate your time very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much.
And it looks like the next interviewee is here.
Do you need a minute?
And Jim's gonna set you up, right? You are Ty and Bond,
Yes, sir.
okay? Going to do is to give you 20 minutes or so to explain why we should choose you instead of the others we're interviewing tonight. We are going to be deliberating after we finish your interview and another. We will be making a recommendation to the mayor as to who to hire. And so your task is to tell us why you and not the other three.
Will this allow me to advance it?
And we would prefer that you use the microphone because this is being televised throughout the city of Attleboro.
We also have a member who has an assisted listening device, so if you don't stand.
Okay, all right. Yeah, so we'll switch a little as we go through different pieces. We all have a different role. Good to go? Can you hear me all right? Great. Thank you for having us in this evening. We appreciate being here. My name is Ben Levesque. I am a Vice President with Ty & Bond based out of our Providence, Rhode Island office. We have a little bit of an agenda here. I'll introduce you to the members of our project team. They'll introduce themselves a little bit as well. I'll let you know a little bit about Ty & Bond. I don't know if we have much of a history working with the city, so we can give you a little background. I won't go into a full-on sales pitch, but just so you know a little bit about what we do and who we are. Then I'm going to have our project manager, our proposed project manager, Chris, come up and talk about our approach to construction phase OPM, and especially, again, looking at work during construction. I'll then have Derek come up. He's our technical expert. He can talk a little bit about our relevant experience doing water treatment work throughout the Northeast, but also in particular related to the specific technologies that are being identified for your Wading River water treatment plant. And then we'll be open to listening and answering any questions you might have. So, quickly about me, my name is Ben. I have been with the industry for about 25 years, mostly working with water and wastewater utilities and for municipalities. I've been with Ty & Bond for about 11 years. I'm currently serving as the project director role on 4 ongoing OPM projects. They're all in different stages. The Red Mill Road water treatment plant in Easton is pretty much completed. We're at the final wrap-up closeout. The Wells 5 and 8 water treatment plant project in Chatham is about midway through construction. The PFAS support OPM that's listed there, that's with the town of Duxbury. We're actually been brought in early on. We just finished reviewing and helping them with their pilot plan for doing piloting. So that won't be advancing till, the piloting will be starting hopefully this summer. And then finally, the White Lodge water treatment plant PFAS project is with the Dedham Westwood Water District. And that project is, I think, slightly behind yours. I think they're opening bids on May 8th for an upgrade to their treatment plant, which is right on University Ave in Dedham. I'll let these guys introduce themselves when they come up. They can tell you a little bit about themselves. So quickly, a little bit about Ty & Bond. We were founded in 1911 in Holyoke, Massachusetts. We have about 550 engineers throughout the Northeast, or staff throughout the Northeast, and growing. The real number right now is probably closer to 600. We have 16 offices throughout New England and 2 in New York. I want to just highlight that where I'm out of Providence, Chris is out of Providence, and Derek is out of Worcester. The other office that we consider kind of our sister office with the 3 is out of Westwood, Mass. And between those 3 offices, we have about 150 staff that support all sorts of infrastructure projects, varying levels and various complexities. So calling out our extensive OPM project experience, we do a lot of that type of work, but we also do a lot of design work and manage water treatment projects all the way from planning through piloting, all the way through design and through construction. So we kind of, for this particular example, I feel like we're very well suited for the type of experience that you need to help assist you and work as a partner with the city moving towards completion of the Wading River plant. So we'll not go into a full sales pitch. I promise you of all the things we do, but one of the things we like to call out is our full service capabilities. These are all services that we provide with staff in-house throughout our offices. A lot of these don't apply specifically to this project, but as you'll see when you look at our org chart, oh no, I broke it. There we go. As you'll see with our project team, we call out certain roles and certain staff, but down the bottom there, when it comes to an OPM project, and especially during construction, there are a lot of issues that come up relative to responding to RFIs, looking at potential change orders, dealing with disputes, keeping everything on time and on budget. we have the staff in-house to help bring those in to look at those things. If there's an HVAC project or problem or question, we have HVAC engineering staff that we can pull from, again, our own resources. We don't sub any of this type of work out. The only thing we don't do in-house typically is survey and drilling holes. We don't have a drilling wing of our operation. So everything else we do our best to handle in-house, and that's what I think makes us responsive and to be able to help support the city, especially on a project like this where there can be varying complexities through all the different disciplines that are involved with building a water treatment plant. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Chris. He's going to talk to you a little bit about our approach to construction phase OPM. This button.
All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Chris Grillo. I would be the project manager assigned for OPM services for this job. I've been with Ty & Bond for about 2 years now, and I have over 15 years of experience in the industry. I would say the majority of the projects that I've worked on to date in my career have either been water treatment facilities or wastewater treatment facilities, heavy on vertical construction, building projects, so that's really my forte and experience. Thorough understanding of Mass General Laws, Chapter 149, which all building projects involve. We've worked extensively in a number of Massachusetts municipalities, especially in Southeast Mass. We'll get down to it on one of the following slides, but I'm currently working with the town of Raynham to construct 2 PFAS water treatment facilities there. We also are building one in Foxborough currently that is ongoing. Also been involved in a large wastewater treatment plant upgrade in Fairhaven, which is over $50 million in value. So just want to highlight that I have extensive knowledge of building trades and some of the other things that we would maintain as our typical approach to OPM services is maintaining schedule. We want to make sure that the contractor is progressing on the job. One of the main ways that we do that is to help assist in facilitating coordination between the engineer and owner, whether it be requests for information, RFIs, shop drawing review, potential change orders due to conflicts or whatever it may be. So, I think part of our role as OPM is to really help facilitate that and see ourselves as an extension of the city staff. The other thing, when it comes to potential changes, we feel with our extensive experience with PFAS and groundwater facilities that we can provide a value third-party, insight onto some of these problems and, potentially look for savings, whether it be with time and schedule or a different way to sequence construction or do things differently. Part of our typical approach would be to provide regular project status updates and attend the monthly building committee meetings. A little more on our approach here. When it comes to construction observation, I think our effort on that would be tailored to the city's desire or the committee's desire and how frequently, but at a minimum, we would typically like to make a visit to the site on a monthly basis, and then as work starts kicking up and progressing, that would probably become more frequently. But again, we want to facilitate timely submittal reviews, RFI responses, and help in change order review and processing. The other thing that I think I failed to mention initially on, I think Ben had it on one of his first slides, is I'm a City of Attleboro resident. So when it comes to being responsive, I think we can check that box off. I live downtown here. The site for the project is about 7 miles away, I believe. So we're prepared to be responsive and available as the city needs at any time. We also have extensive experience when it comes to the testing and startup phase for these facilities. I think Derek will speak more to that, but we are currently starting up a handful of facilities that are very similar to your design here. And again, we'd like to just stress that we would see ourselves as an extension of city staff and try to operate in that way, be very accommodating and available as needed. A couple specific examples. I think I mentioned I am currently the project manager for our OPM assignment in Chatham. That project is similar in design to your project. It's got green sand, pressure filter to remove iron and manganese, and then there's also PFAS removal followed after that. Easton is a project that is pretty much wrapping up that Ben's been a little more heavily involved in, but that project, for specific examples, we've been heavily involved in coordination between the contractor and subs, and during startup, there's been a lot of things to consider as far as keeping existing facilities online, making sure everything gets constructed, you know, properly, approvals, building commissioning, and then transferring everything phased over in a sequenced approach. So I think we've been really heavily involved there. Rainham is a project that just kicked up a few months ago. We're just getting out of the ground there, but that is 2 separate facilities where we are constructing a PFAS treatment building in addition to the existing facility. So the 2 existing facilities have green sand filters to remove iron and manganese, and then we're building separate buildings adjacent to those to install filters to remove PFAS. So those are some specific examples of projects that are ongoing right now. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Derek, who is our technical expert when it comes to all things groundwater, and he's going to give some examples of some of our projects. And
hey, Chris. Yep. Hi, everybody. My name is Derek Belanger. I'm Ty and Bond's technical expert for groundwater remediation, PFAS treatment, manganese treatment. Just to kick it off, the best thing from my perspective from Ty and Bond is it's allowed me to pursue my passion in providing clean drinking water to the citizens of the Commonwealth. I've been at Ty and Bond for about 10 years now, wrapping up my first decade in the industry, and I've had the luxury of being able to help many communities in the Commonwealth with groundwater treatment projects. Started working a lot in manganese in the central Massachusetts area, doing several groundwater remediation projects for drinking water, as well as Connecticut and other states. And then found myself well prepared to start helping folks address PFAS, which has become the real boogeyman of drinking water. It's affecting a lot of the community. Many cities and towns find themselves in a very similar position you are in. And we have a lot of experience with those others that we can bring to the city of Attleboro and share our experiences and help you guide you through this next phase of the construction of the Wading River treatment plant. So just as a kind of a little item here, I've listed 4 of the treatment plants. I'll have a longer list on the next slide, but as I mentioned, I've been in the industry for about 10 years. And in that time, I've worked on almost 24 now treatment plants of 1 to 3, 5 million gallons per day. The majority of them being manganese, PFAS removal, and then more recently some ones with TOC, which exponentially increases the complexity of a project, as I'm sure you folks know, with how the construction and bidding process is going with this project. A couple of projects here, the town of Littleton, Massachusetts. That was one of the first biological manganese treatment plants because the manganese was so poor in that town. They needed an innovative solution. So Ty and Bond has really been out in front of manganese treatment in Massachusetts and New England. And we've had several innovative manganese treatment plants that we've designed, as well as traditional green sand. 2 others, the town of Webster and Westford, similar types of size of projects, 2, 3 MGD manganese and PFAS removal projects, and then the city of Westfield, Massachusetts, where we've had to do a lot of interim solutions and then working with those interim solutions into the full-scale elements of the project. So this is just a long list of projects that I personally have been involved in with Ty and Bond. I want to say, like I mentioned, almost 17, 18 projects at this point ongoing, whether it's in construction. They're listed relatively in chronological order, so as PFAS became prevalent in the industry and regulations began to change, we were rapidly responding with towns throughout the Commonwealth. Our projects in Littleton, Dudley, Westfield, Townsend, Massachusetts are all currently operating. Those are facilities in the 1 to 3 MGD range. Some of them, as I mentioned, have manganese treatment as well. The majority of them have been granular activated carbon. What started me down the road in terms of a similar PFAS treatment as the Wading River is our project in Raynham, Massachusetts, as Chris mentioned. Chris and I worked on that project together several years ago. We were one of the first firms to begin piloting the fluorosorb media in the state. So we've worked with Southeast region, the region that you're in, for these types of innovative media to help progress them and get them approved, as well as work with them. So everything beyond that Raynham project, we've done testing on these fluorosorb media through the pilot scale, and we have facilities that are currently in design that are very similar to the Wading River project. So in terms of our understanding, I think we're uniquely suited to be able to understand the process that you have as part of this project and support you through construction, reviewing vendor shop drawings, make sure everything is properly incorporated, and then ensuring that the startup and commissioning of the project goes well, so that the city is left with a facility that's operating well when everyone walks away. We work closely with IXM, which is the magnetic ion exchange resin vendor. As I mentioned, we're currently in design with a very similar process that uses the TOC exchange resin, followed by green sand filtration for manganese removal, followed by Fluorosorb for PFAS removal. We've done extensive work with horizontal filters as well for manganese. We've done several media replacement projects in the town of Westford, in the town of Georgetown, Mass., where we've worked on green sand facilities that needed replacement after 20 years of operation. So we understand the difference between, say, a vertical pressure filter and the complexities that maybe a horizontal pressure filter brings. And then Fluorosorb, that's been one of my pet projects over the last probably 5-6 years. As I mentioned, I've been working with Southeast Region for piloting, as well as other regions in Mass DEP, trying to find a good installation for this material. I think Attleboro's Wading River, as well as our facility in Grafton, Massachusetts, are uniquely suited for this type of PFAS removal because it is resilient to chlorine, which is required for the upstream green sand process, but is also resilient to the TOC, that if the magnetic ion exchange resin needs to go down or something happens with that downstream Fluorosorb is extremely resilient. So as I mentioned, the TOC removal, we've done some recent pilots. You can see here is a pilot trailer of this magnetic ion exchange resin that we recently had operating over the fall this year, last year, 2024. And then our design for the Grafton Water District's Worcester Street well, that facility is in final design right now. It's on the same SRF IUP as this project, just a little later going out to bid. And as I mentioned, experiences with the alternative adsorbents. I've given professional speeches at organizations, New England Water Works, Connecticut Water Works Association, at several symposium, communicating the different types of media, specifically on Fluorosorb, and I think I've been a little bit of a leader in the industry in reviewing and establishing this media as a potential option. Every water quality is different, so having someone on your team that can understand water quality, has a lot of broad experience, and can help guide in terms of how a system might operate, and has seen these systems operate on several different waters, can bring all those experiences back and really bear fruit during the startup and commissioning phase. We have a lot of pilot and research knowledge with this media. I think we have a lot of trade secret in terms of how to operate it, working with the vendors, understanding where in pilot studies things may have gone wrong, and that's how we're bringing that knowledge to the full scale. We haven't put it into full scale yet because we've been conservative and cautious to push a new media that's not as well as established as GAC, but we've done a lot of research understanding the complexities, and I think we have a really good handle of how to operate and how to start this media up at full scale. And then similar, as I mentioned, startup activities, that's where my passion lies. I love the research element of these projects, the treatment elements, but also being able to get out into the field and solve problems when they do arise. My best startup is a startup that has no problems, but unrealistic as it may be, there's always something that comes up, and being able to draw from a variety of experiences is very important. This is a project of mine in the Dudley, Massachusetts, where we did a PFAS treatment plant. Similar situation where when the town found PFAS, they did an immediate response. They had to do an interim solution. We had to get a PFAS vessel treating water immediately, so there needed to be a first step solution. We put a vessel out, started treating water, and then we constructed a full-scale treatment plant. This is a picture of the temporary interim vessel being relocated into the facility through a knockout wall, just highlighting the complexities of trying to manage PFAS in the immediate, but also designing and constructing for a long-term solution. And with that, I'll turn it back to Ben to close out.
So thank you. I'll close this out so we can get into your questions, but why Time Bond? One of the things that we pride ourselves on is we've built through our history as being a trusted advisor to clients, and that's what we want to bring to the city of Attleboro. We have a proven track record of being able to provide technically these types of projects they're involved with. We've put together a consistent local team that these are the people you'll be dealing with and seeing, but we also have the depth of support from a lot of other technical experts to be able to help make sure we have the answers to the questions or the needs that come up. And this is a very complex project. It's an involved project. It needs a qualified OPM. We are that OPM. So we hope to have the opportunity to work with the city. And with that, I'd like to open it up to any questions. And maybe they can just come up and we'll jump in as needed to answer.
Commission members, any questions? Ed?
Now, what percentage of Attleboro's drinking water will be subjected to this filtration, to this treatment?
I'd say it's somewhere around 25% is my understanding. I know you guys have 2 water treatment facilities currently. This one being rated for 2 MGD. I think it's somewhere in that ballpark, 25% or less, but if others know.
And that's one of the reasons why I think the project is so complex. The N+1 rule, the need for the redundancy in the project, because Attleboro only has 2 sources. Every system is a little larger to accommodate the fact that these are critical sources for the city.
Any other questions from commission members? Mason?
Yeah, so just if we could go down the list of just like your time commitment, your time and schedule, and how much or like a percentage of your schedule is going to be devoted to this project. If we could just go one by one, that'd be helpful.
So as the project director, and again, some of our time is going to be dictated by, we would want the opportunity to work with you to set the expectations. Right. We have OPM projects where we are there very little. We have others where we have full-time people on site all the time. I mean, as the project director, my job is to make sure that they're doing their job, but also to make sure that you're getting the resources that you need. So I'm probably in the 10% range. My experience does relate, my technical experience through my career does lead to this, so I might have a little bit of a larger role just as issues may come up, but that's where I would fit in.
Yeah, I think my understanding based on what I know the project, being the PM, I'm prepared to spend up to 25% of my time on this and have the availability to do that. But again, to Ben's point, I think it gets into how much effort, you know, especially when it comes to on-site time. And I know attendance at meetings on-site, that's hard to gauge at this point, but 25 would be my best estimate.
Yeah, as far for me, my job will be to support Chris. I'm an assistant project manager on many different projects, but have availability because I'm not a lead project manager on any one particular project. So I'll be able to draw from the half-dozen+ projects that we have ongoing in construction for similar types of treatment plants and help support Chris with other staff to make decisions and advise as needed. So I assume for the most part I would be at a lesser percentage than Chris, and then as startup and commissioning begins, my role may grow depending on the scope of services.
And just one of the things, we did not bring someone here with us today to play that role, but depending on the level of construction observation, if you needed somebody on site, we usually negotiate that for OPM projects very specifically. Like we worked on a project in Orleans that was both a wastewater treatment plant and a collection system development. We had somebody out there full-time every day as basically a clerk of works. That project required it. That's what that client wanted. Other places, we have a more intermittent role. As the project director, it's kind of my call as to how the staff gets utilized. If you needed us here on a larger basis, that we can make them available for that. But I think that would have to be something that would be defined during the negotiation or the expectation setting for the scope. So.
And then Chris, as what I understand to be the primary contact point on this project. Can you just speak to your experience with SRF funding on some of the other projects, specifically maybe the Chatham project, if that's on there?
Yeah, I have extensive experience with SRF projects. I want to say 95%, if not more, of the water treatment plants that we are involved in, whether it be design or OPM, it's going to be an SRF funded project. So we know most of the players, especially in Southeast region. We have direct experience with all the project engineers and representatives at SRF, so we certainly know those folks on a personal level and can help facilitate getting payment requisitions processed and things like that.
And I know a lot of the discussion of your guys' presentation was sort of the contract administration, or the construction OPM service. Can you talk a little bit about like closeout services, maybe how it involves with SRF? Is that something that you guys would be looking to, actually be offering?
Oh yeah. We have certainly have a lot of experience doing that, and when it comes to closing out projects, the order of operations is usually getting the DEP approval first, and then occupancy permit. I think for this project, the way I understand things, everything has to be built, constructed, approved before the switchover is made from the existing facility. But SRF, we are intimately involved and ready to deal with that aspect of the project as well.
Yeah, do you mind too? One of the biggest complexities too of projects on the SRF funding at this point in time is the BABA component as well, by Build America, Buy America. We have had many conversations with the EPA, the Office of Management and Budget, SRF, multiple regions. We're doing, I think, a fairly good job trying to get ahead of a federal program that's kind of evolving with this state program. There had been exclusions for the BABA program previously. With this new 2024 IUP that this project's on, all those exclusions are gone, and all these projects going forward are going to need to be compliant with the Build America, Buy America program. So I think we have a lot of good groundwork and understanding on how to navigate that as well, because that may be one of the largest and trickiest part as we go through procuring and getting equipment, specifically electrical equipment, in this project. So we know the right players and who to talk to and how to explore those waiver processes if they need to come up.
That?
I think Mason's questions covered my two for the most part, which was SRF funding. I know you referenced the one in the presentation, but that just covered that question. And my other one, similar to Mason's, was the time on the project. It sounds like it's a regular occurrence with balancing the time, but any challenges you see with the Dedham Westwood potentially being right on pace with what Attleboro would be looking to do?
Not for me personally, because I'm not involved in the Dedham project.
Yeah, I work with a different PM on that project, and that's mostly managed out of our Westwood office. So yes, I will be responsible for both, but Chris is dedicated to this project. One thing I wanted to just ask about too, or confirm, part of this project is involving reviewing submittals, and we talked a lot about that. I don't know if your designer has stuff in place to review that. We've gone through where we've managed, and it comes into effect with a lot of the BABA and the AIS stuff as we get going. We use a program called Procore, where we manage the submittal process. Some projects we run it as the OPM. Others, the design firm has that, or they use submittal exchange. We're familiar with a lot of different things, but that's just one of the aspects we can bring to this to just help support and make sure that helps us monitor what's being reviewed, what's coming in, our resubmittals being submitted timely, that kind of things. It helps to fight with the schedule and keep everything moving. So,
yeah, if I may, once more, I just want to go back to, just really quickly, if you don't mind, to the list of projects that we showed. Pretty much, I would say 99% of these projects are all SRF projects, except for the ones in New Hampshire and Connecticut. All these projects are mass SRF projects. So through my 10 years, I've probably done, as I mentioned, I want to say 12, 15 SRF projects. So we're very, very familiar with the state's programs, the funding programs, AIS, BABA, all the necessary closeout processes, and how to best work with contractors to move things along and keep the funding flowing to get these projects moving.
Okay, any other questions? Then thank you. If you call Mason tomorrow, you'll find out where we finished. And we have one more interview, and then we'll be deliberating.
Very good.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, everyone.
Tonight.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. And the last candidate is here. Come forward.
You don't know that. No. I don't have a problem with it.
While Jim's setting you up, I assume you're Apex,
We are, yes, we're Apex.
since that's the only one left on our list. And what we're going to do is give you 20 minutes or so to explain why we should choose you instead of the other three candidates. We may have some questions. I'd like to wrap it up in a half an hour anyway. We will deliberate. When we finish, we will be making a recommendation to the mayor as to. And whenever you're ready, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. I just want to say thank you for giving us this potential opportunity to be your OPM on the Wading River water treatment plant project. This evening, you have three core members of the team here to speak to you and answer any questions that you have. I'm Helen Gordon, and if you look at the team org chart, I'm the principal in charge for the project. I have here this evening Ziad Carey, who is the senior project manager, and Tyler Schmidt, who is the senior project engineer, who would be working on this project with you. Our presentation is split up into four highlighted areas. One is a quick introduction to Apex to just let you know who we are, and then relevant experience specific to these three individuals here. So we'll each speak to the projects that we've been working on, either OPMing or designing, so you'll get a sense of who we are and what we do. And then Ziad will be talking about the technical approach, and then again, we'll answer any questions. So about Apex. Apex was established in 1988, and we are a national company with multidisciplinary engineering and environmental work. The local New England branch, which is approximately 100 people, is previously was Environmental Partners, who you may know of. And I'm located in the Quincy office. Tyler Schmidt actually lives in North Attleboro, so he's close here. And Ziad Carey also works in the Quincy office with me. And we have HVAC, structural, and so forth under our umbrella with Apex. Just a quick visual to show you where we've been OPMing over the last 5 to 8 years, I would say. So there's about 20 clients we've been doing OPM project work for. And they're list shown here, and these are all the Massachusetts ones that we've been doing. We have done a few what would be like an OPM oversight for non-Massachusetts, but it's not a requirement outside of Massachusetts, so it's a little different setup. So a little bit about me. Again, Helen Gordon. I have 40 years experience in consulting engineering. I have done anything from planning through design and construction oversight. Right now, one of the projects that I'm finishing up is the Tri-Town Board Water Commission. It's a brand new treatment plant in Braintree. This one is quite large. It's 12.5 MGD. It's a $122 million project. It happens to be a surface water treatment plant. Points to understand, it includes dissolved air flotation and filter media. The filter media is GAC for phosphorus removal. And I've worked on this project from the very beginning. And initially, Apex was responsible for coming up with a conceptual design, and then going from that all the way through assisting the client with designer selection and review oversight of the design. And now we're doing the construction administration, and we are also providing the resident project rep on that job. The next project I wanted to highlight was High Street Water Treatment Plant. Again, this is one of my OPM projects. It's in Bridgewater. It's a 2 MGD plant, it's a brand-new plant, and it's an iron and manganese plant. They had a lot of high iron and manganese, and they needed to get this constructed. This was a rather difficult one in that we went through it during COVID-19. So during COVID, we started the project. It did impact the schedule slightly. We were able to manage the overruns well despite that, and the project was completed in 2022, and it's up and running. And then another project that was recently completed is the Populatic Water Treatment Plant in Medway. We were, again, the OPM on this project and worked with the town. It's a $20 million construction project. The things that were interesting on this one is some of the stormwater management design that we had that had to be done by the design engineer and reviewed and maintained and reported on throughout the entirety of the project. And then also neighbors being very close to the site. So we had to deal with public outreach and so forth. And all three of these projects were SRF funded. And the interesting one about Populatic is we had the design engineer expand the building footprint and add space for future vessels for GAC for PFAS removal. And that will be moving ahead at some point in Medway so they can meet the new regulations. I'm going to turn it over now to Tyler, and he's going to speak to some of the projects he's been working on.
Thank you, Helen. Thank you all. My name is Tyler Schmidt. I've been in the drinking water industry for approximately 10 years now. I've been with Apex as a firm for about 5 years. So this project is the Medfield Wells 3 and 4 water treatment plant. We were the design engineer on this project. I was fortunate enough to be able to be involved in the design, permitting, bidding, construction, all the way through startup and commissioning of this project. So this is a 2.2 million MGD facility. This is a groundwater treatment facility with 2 wells. It's a pump-through plant, so you're pumping right through your pressure filtration system. It's loaded with green sand media. This project was bid in 2019, and we also had COVID-19 impacts on this job, which impacted the schedule, specifically on some electrical equipment. We had some VFDs that were incredibly delayed due to COVID-19 impacts. But we were able to overcome that. We ended up concluding the job with only, I believe it was a 4 to 6 month delay in startup from the VFDs, particularly because they controlled the pumps. And we were able to conclude the project with less than 2.5% change order value. So this is a $8.3 million facility. Likewise, I also was able to work on the Groton water treatment plant. This is called the Whitney Pond Wells water treatment plant. This facility is another groundwater facility, another pump-through facility with green sand media. This one, unlike Medfield, the unique part of this is we did have this one bid in 2022. We did have some residual COVID impacts at the beginning of the job, but they were fairly mitigated because it was known to bidders. But we did have some specific sequencing requirements during the startup and commissioning phase. This facility treats water from 3 groundwater wells, which represented over 80% of the town's drinking water capacity. So we had very specific, very stringent sequencing requirements for the startup of this facility, which was unique. There was a lot of late nights that we were doing a lot of work at night for startup and everything to keep the water flowing. With that said, I will pass things off to Ziad.
Thanks, Tyler. Good evening. My name is Ziad Thierry. I am a principal and a project manager with Apex. I've been with the firm, this is my 19th year. I work out of the Quincy office, and I only live 2 towns away from here. I live in Sharon, Mass. So when I joined the firm, I was fortunate enough to work on this project. At the time, we were about 18 people, I think. This is the town of Weymouth, right across the pond. Helen just highlighted the Great Pond water treatment plant for Tri-Town. So this one here is a 1930 facility. So I was involved in the design for the geotech, some site work, and I was also fortunate to assist in do the oversight for 2 years. Interesting, again, this was 26,000 square feet of space between treatment, chemical treatment and unit processes. It has a unique feature here. It has a dissolved air flotation. Coagulation, obviously, dissolved air flotation. It goes to intermediate ozone for disinfection, and then from there goes into the filter and then out to distribution. Believe it or not, that whole thing cost about $32 million. It was SRF funded. The town had procured the equipment in advance to kind of save some money based on some value engineering that was performed. And the cost of $32 million yielded about less than 1% in change orders. So beyond the startup and commissioning, I did the design for we kept the existing treatment plant online for about a month to make sure all the bugs are out from the new treatment plant. And then we demoed the existing facilities, and we did the entire site restoration. During that time, I assisted the town in the operation assistance of the plant. So I was there for almost 2 months post startup and commissioning, and just to make sure there's no bugs in the system. This is what you call the perfect design. I was the project manager for this Nagog Pond water treatment plant. It's a surface water treatment plant for the town of Concord, Mass. Unfortunately, this never got built just because some funding issues and political situation to water rights. But based on space constraint, again, surface water, so pumped it up to the head of the plant, and from there it flew by gravity to the rest of the plant. It had similar features to Weymouth, dissolved air flotation, filters, but then because of lack of residual management on the site, we ended up designing a centrifuge to be able to limit the amount of residuals going back into the system. Again, it was shelved back in 2019 or 2020. I think we completed that work. It was supposed to be 1.5 MGD with expensive features similar to yours up here, with split CMU block on the front and some other components along the site. For the town of Hyannis, over the years, we did multiple GAC filters for PFAS treatment, and they were deemed to be seasonal, but now they're turning these facilities into permanent facilities, like year-round, and they're adding enclosures around the GAC filters. So we started this, Mary Dunn, we did Mary Dunn 1, 2, and 3, starting back in 2014, and recently we did the airport and Straightway for about 1 MGD. The town procured the equipment for the PFAS, for the vessels, and the carbon from Tetrasolve, and Bisco Building Supply was the GC on this project. It was about $1.3 million. Just along the same line, today we're working on Cape, work from Eastham all the way down to Plymouth and then anywhere else in between. This is a little bit different. This is a wastewater treatment plant. Back in 2013, we worked with the town of Eastham on implementing a brand new water system. They never had any pipe. They never had any water to speak of. There's all private wells. So fast forward about 10 years, 45 miles of water main, 2 pressure zones, 2 elevated water storage tanks, 2 booster pumping station. Now they're turning the attention on wastewater, and primarily to address the nitrogen and TMDL limits for their estuaries and ponds. So we got involved as an OPM on the phase 1, phase 2 of a wastewater treatment plant design that's being designed by GHD. We just received the 30% design, and the project cost, including the collection system, would be about $170 million, was SRF funded. We just in the process of reviewing the 30% design, and we get approved from SRF for the entire amount. So this is just basically a brief flavor of what we've been doing as far as OPM and design for water and wastewater treatment facilities. But let's dive into the OPM role here. We understand that your project is currently in the bidding phase, so I'm not sure if there's any, I'm sure there's some reviews, internal reviews, but we thought would be ideal situation would be before this goes out to construction, a constructability review, maybe a look on what the 100% design document look like, just in case there's any issues in the document. You know, some of it could be mitigated or maybe limited during construction. So that would be the first order business. Typical OPM roles on construction activities, you know, you attend the pre-construction conference, you look at, attend the progress meetings, you look at the schedule, you monitor the progress of the work to make sure that nothing's fallen behind. You review the invoices, whether it's the consultant's invoice or the contractor's pay requisition. You assess the validity of the change orders, the potential change orders. You look at RFIs. If you wish, if you want the OPM to review submittals, we could do that. We've been on both sides of the table here as designers and as OPM as well. The WBE MBE requirements to make sure that the contractors adherent to the percentages and the requirements of SRF. And then we get into startup, commissioning, the plan for the startup, and the review of the plan before it goes actually to actual startup. And on a monthly basis, you know, based on the requirements of the RFQ, it's the preparation of a monthly report before this committee with, again, reviewing the invoices, the attendance of the municipal building council meeting, and the preparation of the reimbursement request through Mass DEP if the design engineer is not doing that. So, which brings us to the most important piece. Let's just be honest. I mean, I've been doing this for almost 30 years. Helen did say about 40 years. Anybody could put a plan together. Just to make it work, to make all the systems communicate to one another, that's a challenge, and it has to be really looked at very carefully. So what we would typically do, whether we're design engineers or OPM, when the building is up, the equipment is already in place, first thing we do is we call the vendors to make sure that the equipment is installed based on the vendor's recommendation or the manufacturer's recommendation. Beyond that, you start doing individual to make sure the system is communicating, right? SCADA is working, electrical is working, input, outputs, make sure all components are in order. Beyond that, you start the performance test and individual equipment testing. And when there's no alarms and no issues in the system, this is when it goes into full performance test. Because the last thing you want to do is turn the treatment plant to the owner, to the city in this case, with some bugs in it. I mean, you want to make sure the bugs are all squared away before you even attempt to do the full performance test, right? So this, I'm not sure what the specification from the designer, but our specification usually calls for 72 hours of uninterrupted test. That means no alarms, no bugs in the system. It has to be all squared away before we accept the full performance test. And then when that's done, we move on to the next phase, which is punch list, substantial completion, and then the project closeout, right? So in the project closeout, you know, we look at the preparation of the budget and the summary. Hopefully this thing doesn't fall behind schedule. I know you have a completion date of December 2027. But hopefully we think you want to get going here. You want to have a contractor on board based on the SRF requirement by June 30th, and it looks like you want to get going in July. July may be a little bit tight, but again, anything is possible to make sure that the contractor sticks to the budget here, to the schedule. Once the projects close out, before you turn the keys over, you want to make sure the O&Ms are in place, the record drawings are in place, the warranties, guarantees, the spare parts, the stuff that gets overlooked during that process. You want to make sure it's all in. And then we have created forms along the way to make sure the contractor is providing what they're required to provide, and including the vendors as well. Last thing you want to do is accept the treatment plan and you don't have a complete O&M manual or a complete set of record drawings. Post-construction phase, usually you have the evaluation period, and that goes for the contractor and the subcontractors, all the file subbidders. And then you have the SRF piece, which is the loan closeout, and then the project closeout with Mass DEP, with the SRF program. Okay, so I guess in closing, why select Apex? I hope that what we've talked about, whether what's contained in the RFQ and what we presented here in terms of sample projects, I hope you see that we have enough experience as both designers and OPM. We've been doing this for a long time. Every project will teach you something, right? So one thing we take pride of, we don't turn over any facility to the owner unless it is fully functional and free of bugs. We're local. What you see is what you're going to get. Tyler, Helen, and myself will be working with you on this project. We don't do bait and switch. We don't come in here for the interview and then give you somebody else to work on your project. I mentioned I'm only 2 towns away. Tyler's right down the street, and Helen's only 20 minutes away. We have done our homework, and I think we're well suited to be able to help you and support you on this project. And we ask that if you call our references from Provincetown to Nantucket, Plymouth, Hyannis, and anywhere else in between.
Excuse me, so I do have a question, which is, who would be our primary contact? And the second part of that is, how much time would they actually be spending, like, on site during construction?
So I will be your primary contact as a project manager. Tyler would be the senior project engineer. He's actually a project manager, but he's be filling the role of a senior project engineer, and Helen will be the principal. In terms of availability, I do have 40% of my time could be dedicated to this project. Based on the RFQ, I think, there's specific requirements in the RFQ. We followed that, and if you need us to be present more often than not, we'd be more than happy to assist.
Okay. Commission members, questions? Ed?
Yeah. Approximately what percentage of Attleboro's drinking water will have been treated by this plant?
I do not know.
Okay.
Mason?
You actually covered my question. I thought you guys were pretty clear about your experience with SRF, so covers what I was going to ask.
Good.
No other questions? I guess everybody got tired of asking questions.
If I might?
Sure.
Thank you. So I did review the plans and specifications, and just speaking to SRF, one of the things I did notice in there is, since you are in the first group that's going to be BABA required, the MIAC system that you've chosen to follow is going to require a BABA waiver. So that's going to be something that you want to make sure that you address sooner rather than later and get that waiver ahead of time. There's a whole different process for that waiver than there is for the AIS waivers. And you have to deal with some other departments associated with that. So I do have some experience in that area. That's going to be something that I would highly recommend. One of the things I wanted to mention about the startup is we really like to work directly with the operators. And since this MIAC system is not a system that's been used widely in this area, although it's a perfectly effective system and approved by the state, you want to make sure that the training program that's put together for the startup is going to be a good one and a thorough one, and make sure that your operators are trained and comfortable with the system before they take it over. So those were just a few things I wanted to mention.
So on that waiver, is Tata and Howard carrying the ball on that with your assistance, or how does that work?
So it can work. It can work any way that you choose as the client. I've worked on many OPM projects, and we've worked in various relationships. So some are the design engineer does a lot of the work because that's the decision for the client. They're comfortable with that, and that's how they want to move forward. And we do more of the more oversight, checking where things are on the project. To be specific, there's a project in Dennis where we are not doing the SRF drawdowns. That's all being done by the construction, by the design engineer. Most of the other projects I work on as an OPM, we do all of the SRF paperwork. So if we were to do it, I would recommend who's ever doing the SRF paperwork is the one that's doing the BABA work.
Okay, thank you. We almost finished on time, only 5 minutes past, so I think we should all be congratulated for doing that. Thank you for coming in tonight. If you call Mason tomorrow, you'll find out what our vote was. We'll be deliberating and making a recommendation to the mayor as to who should negotiate the contract with. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Does anybody need to take a 5-minute break before we deliberate?
Yeah,
Then I
sure.
would suggest we recess for 5 minutes.
Yep.
Even if it's just a... We're back from recess. It's always interesting interviews because,
I think so.
first of all, probably all 8 of the originals were qualified. We chose what we believed were the 4 top. And somebody always kind of talks themselves higher up, and somebody always talks themselves somewhat down. That's just human nature, the way things happen. So instead of just voting, I was wondering if anybody wanted to share some thoughts before we ranked people.
I thought W and P were number 1 in my vote. That's all that they do, pretty much, is water treatment. The project manager is going to be a local girl. They do all of their engineering in-house, so they don't have to pay a subcontractor and then mark that up, which we ultimately pay for. And they were very available to meet our schedule. Number 2 was Ty and Bond. All 4 of these are more than capable of doing the job. And let's face it, Ty and Bond were also a full service, and with all of their engineering done in-house, they've got a lot of exposure to the SRF funding. I had Apex as number 3. They seem very well, they're on top of it. They have a lot of SRF financing experience, and they were a local, one of the main person that we were dealing with is local, so that helped. I had Scancer in 4th position. I don't know why they're doing it as a joint venture, but that affected, how I felt about it.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else want to speak?
With Skanska, I wasn't aware they were doing it with Weston and Sampson until tonight. Maybe I missed something in the proposal, but that was a little kind of a surprise. And then with Wright and Pierce doing everything in-house, that seemed like a benefit to the city. Ty and Bond, they seemed like they had quite a bit of very technical expertise. Apex seemed competent. They didn't have anything that made them stand head and shoulders above anyone, but I thought they were better than what Skanska presented. That's what I've got.
So what did you have as number 1?
Number 1, Wright and Pierce. 2, Ty and Bond. 3, Apex, and 4, Skanska.
Okay, thank you. Jackie?
Amazingly, I went with the same order, the 1, 2, and 3, 4, with the Wright Pierce being number 1. Apex, Ty Bond, back and forth with them. But I did like several of the answers from Ty Bond better. Skanska, I didn't like the joint venture. It bothered me.
Okay, Terry?
I put Wright and Pierce is number 1, Ty and Bond is number 2, Skanska is number 3, Apex is number 4. And the reason I put Skanska as 3 was because I was impressed with Weston Sampson in their presentation. Mm-hmm. I didn't like the partnership. It didn't seem like it was there enough for me. So.
Okay. Ed?
I put 4, I chose Skanska for the same reasons most did. It was just, they put this together just for this project, it looked like to me. 3rd, Wright Pierce. They were pretty good, but I just felt the others, that would be 3. Tig and Bond I put as number 1 because they're the only one that could give you an answer that's what's 25% of Attleboro's water. I think that speaks to the fact that they did a little more homework. They became familiar with the Attleboro plant. It's a total picture. It isn't just that one filter. It acts in concert with all of the other treatment facilities that we have. And 2 would have been an Apex.
So your number 1 was?
1 was Tig and Bond.
Tig Bond, okay. Yeah.
I had Wright and Pierce as the ranked first, because they did mention the other city projects. They seem to know about all our other treatment plants and, references they did their homework, basically. I had Apex as second. I just feel like they had a lot of experience. And they talked about communication and then monthly reports, project closeouts. They were the only firm to speak of a constructability review, which I'm not quite sure what that is, but it seemed like it made sense.
Good.
Yeah. So I had Wright and Pierce first, Apex second, Skanska third, although it was a tie between Skanska and Tie and Bond. Tie and Bond, I always want to call it Teague and Bond, but it's Tie and Bond. They had a lot of technical knowledge that Derek, he seemed to know everything about everything. Yeah, basically. But I don't know if they didn't talk about city projects, they didn't talk about like communication or how they would coordinate the project as much. So I guess that could be a tie between Skanska and Teague and Bond. But definitely Wright and Pierce was my first choice.
Even though you don't get a vote, Matt, what was your opinion?
My opinion was, along with, before, in reviewing everything before tonight, I did think that the Skanska and the Weston Sampson was a little bit of a concern of mine, that how that would work. I think in hearing from Weston Sampson, it kind of put some of that to rest with their expertise and their experience. I think Wright and Pierce was, above my clear number 1. The communication piece was big for me. I think, as previously mentioned, the knowledge of other projects, and not just, they seemed to be in tune with everything that was going on with the city. And they were involved in big projects as well, which I think was a positive. But the public relation piece of it, they seem to just have a lot of knowledge of Attleboro as a city and what we have going on. So I would put them at number 1. From there, I kind of have Time Bond and Skanska with Weston and Sampson kind of as a close number 2 between the 2 of those. I think my confidence in Weston and Sampson brings them a little bit closer to the front. I think there is kind of a little to be questioned there as, the 2 companies, but I would go Wright Pierce, then I would go, like I said, close on the number 2, and with Apex being at the back. The one thing I did like about Apex is the amount of time that they would be able to put on the project. But, and with Skanska and Weston Sampson, I like the fact that they've been involved in so many PFAS projects. 35 they had listed, and a majority of them being the SRF funded. But I think Wright and Pierce was clear-cut number 1 for me.
Your thoughts, Mason?
Go back through my notes. I kind of want to hold. I just want to hold my thoughts at this point.
Okay. I, similar to others, was a little bit concerned about the Weston and Sampson Skanska partnership and who would be calling the shots and who would be available when. And I was impressed with Weston and Sampson. I thought they tucked themselves higher on my listing than I would have thought.
Yep.
But in the end, I had them number 4 going in, and I kept them at number 4. I just didn't like Ty and Bond. I just didn't think that they were really talking to us.
Yeah.
I thought they were talking about all their rest of their projects all around the place, and the amount of time that they seemed to want to spend was very little. I think they said getting there once a month. I liked Apex. I thought that they made a good presentation, but clearly, make sure I get the name right. Wright Pierce was number one in my mind. They were head and shoulders above the rest. They did their homework. They knew our project. They knew about the city, and they're ready to go, and with a good team. So that's my ranking. And so Mason, you can probably tell us the results, but I think Wright Pierce finished number one.
Yeah, so I mean, I'll give my comments, and then I just want to go back through and grab everyone's numbers again, just to make sure we have it right. But so as much as, you know, we've had good work with Skanska in the past, the city's done good work with Weston Sampson before. I think, you know, Matt, you spoke to that, and we've done a lot of work with them in the past, engineering on projects. As just with experience on these projects, I know it can, as much as it sounds great to have a large team, it can be really complicated when you don't have a point person to go to. I think it's going to get a little bit confusing working with, you know, a side who's sort of managing the project management side of things, and a side who's kind of handling the technical expertise, and who do you go to for what. And I think they try to clearly delineate those responsibilities, but in the day-to-day, who are we as a city going to be reaching out to and working with? I think it just gets a little bit confusing. The relationship's a little bit complicated. Even legally, I don't know if they really had it settled how they were going to structure that yet. They kind of, which makes sense. There's no contract yet, but I just think there's a lot of unknown there. So as much as both of those organizations and firms are really good, I just don't know about them working together for a project for us. Wright Pierce, I noted that they had limited PFAS treatment experience. That was something that surprised me a little bit, but I thought they really demonstrated their knowledge of the city processes, and I think, you know, Megan, my understanding is Megan's really going to be the primary contact point day to day. Thought she has good municipal experience, which would be helpful. She understands that a lot of this as a project manager is a communication battle, and I think she kind of tried to hit that home, which I think is helpful. I am assuming Megan's the primary point of contact, but I will note that they specifically didn't name one, which is, you know, somewhat concerning when they haven't really decided which one's going to be the primary. They said that's kind of up for negotiation and discussion, which I think would be settled, which would be fine. But again, they hadn't really decided it was going to be Megan or Tara. So that's just something to note. Ty and Bond. I thought they were very clear about the division of responsibilities on the job, which is always great, to clearly know who is going to be the contact point. I think Christopher Grillo really has extensive experience working with SRF projects. I mean, he highlighted that about 95% of the projects he's worked on are SRF funded, and clearly their other individual, Derek, had a lot of knowledge of SRF. I agree with kind of what you were talking about. I feel like they were selling us a resume sometimes, but that is somewhat what we asked them to do. And it seems like a lot of their work has been actually on the OPM side in recent projects, on some of these PFAS projects, so that's definitely a plus. It was a little bit unclear how responsive they were to the specifications in the RFQ, and more, you know, in what they considered to be their scope of work, and what was more for negotiation. So that's always a little bit of a concern up front. It was unclear, you know, they're putting their name in the hat, but are they being responsive to the specifications that we put into the RFQ? And then I thought Apex, I don't have any experience with Apex, but I have experience with environmental partners. I was a little bit confused about, you know, how they're, if that organization has changed. We're currently working with environmental partners, so they didn't really specify how that change has come about. We've had mixed experiences with them, so if it is the same firm, that's always a factor for the city. We've had a little bit of a mixed experience. I thought their team was strong. I thought they were clear on who was the primary point of contact. I really appreciated at the end, Helen really did her homework, actually read the specifications, which it's possible that all of them did, but she cited, you know, some of the concerns she immediately had in the specs that are out on the street, clearly understands SRF and some of the the concerns related to the BABA restrictions, and kind of, it seems like definitely knows how to navigate that. So I feel like all 4 firms would be a fine option for the city. I'd probably say that in this instance, Skanska would be my last choice just because of the structure of the team. It's just a little bit confusing. I'm not really sure, how we would work directly with them, and I'm not sure they've figured that out yet either. But I think the other 3, I think the city would be more than satisfied with working with any of the 3 of them. I'm not going to say who I would say the top choice is, but yeah, I think all 4 firms would do the job. So.
Okay, so do you need us to go back again to give you things for your chart?
Yeah, it'd be helpful, and if anyone has any changes to anything that they said, based on what Matt said or any of the other members, if they had any changes, feel free to highlight those. If we can just kind of go top to bottom, or if anyone else wants to add any comments before we do that.
Okay, your 4, Jackie?
My 4 would be Wright Pierce, Ty Bond, Apex, and Skanska.
Terry?
Wright, Pierce, Tybon, Skanska, and Apex.
Ed?
It would be Tide Bond, Apex, Wright Pierce, and Skanska.
Okay. Got that, Mason?
Good to go.
I had Wright Pierce, Apex, Skanska, and Ty Bond.
I had Wright Pierce, Apex at 2, Ty Bond at 3, and Skanska at 4. Terry?
I had Wright Pierce as 1, Ty Bond number 2, Apex number 3, and Skanska as number 4.
Andrew?
Wright Pierce 1, Ty Bond 2, Apex 3, and Skanska 4.
And so, Mason, the tally comes out.
All right, so Jay's absent, so I'm just going to remove that. So the overwhelming number 1 choice was Wright Pierce, with just a composite average score of 1.125, 1 being 1 through 4. Ty and Bond would have been second with a composite average of 2. Apex would be third with a composite average of 2.375, and Skanska would be fourth with a composite average of 3.25. So I think the commission clearly spoke that Wright Pierce is their recommendation.
So do we need to make a motion, or is the vote that you got enough?
If you want to make a motion to recommend Wright Pierce, that would be helpful, and then subject to negotiations.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion?
I don't think I can make that motion. Someone else might want to say that. I'm not a member of the commission.
Well, you can write the motion, but Jackie made it, and Terry seconded it, because that's what we do. She says so moved, and she says second. That's what we do all the time. But any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And then, would you say Ty Bond finished second?
Ty Bond is second.
In the event that we are unable to negotiate a contract with Wright Pierce, we would then move to Ty Bond, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay. So, take next week off. We'll see you in early May. Meeting, we'll get an update from you as always. And we also will know what the bidding results were.
So this is all tabled till next week.
Yeah, next time.
How much
Yeah.
Okay.
we are recommending
I
that the
guess we can
city spend. Could be a very large number. So, should we adjourn at 7:59?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.